So we're going to cover two more topics in our introduction to coding in Python. So our last two topics are class and pipelines. So let's talk about class in this video. So a class allows us to bundle data and functions together. Classes are used as part of object-oriented programming. So the term is OOP, O-O-P. And the benefit of class is that it allows us to make code that's reusable. So if we don't use object-oriented programming, we don't use classes, then what we have is we're repeating the lines of code over and over again. So this helps simplify it, and it also helps us in terms of automation and deploying. So let's look at an example here. So let's define a class as information about students. So we have our students, and we're going to define the initial state of this object, and it is that we have collected the name of the student, the year the student is going to graduate, and we're going to collect their grades. So in our initial status, we have no grades, but we will have a name and a year of graduation for each student. So in your class, you define the initial state. So DEF, and then you can see underscore, init underscore, and then in parentheses, you always start with self, then comma, then these are going to be the variables that we are collecting. So we are going to collect the name, and so self.name will equal name. We'll collect the year they're going to graduate, so self.year equals year, and then we're going to collect their grades. So self.grades is going to either equal some grades, or we have here a empty, and you see it's the curvy brackets, so we have a dictionary. So this is our initial state, and then what we're going to do is we're going to then add in functions to allow us to change the initial state or to do things with it. So for example, we're going to define here that we can set grades for this individual by giving a course and then giving a grade that goes with it. So we can then take what we have, self.grades, provide the course, and then give a grade. So we're entering data into this system. We can also pull from this system their GPA. So we define get GPA, and here it just has itself. So we can ask for the GPA for a particular student, and it's going to return, and here it is going to sum up all of the grades. So that's the self.grades. It's going to take their values, and my face is hiding it, so let me just move my face. It's going to take the values from those grades and divide by LEN, that's the length, that's the number of grades that we have for it. So it's going to take the grades and find the average. So we can then define the class by bundling of data and functions, and we basically create the shell, an initial status, and then we can amend and use functions to change and pull information from. So for example, we could define that Maria is a student, so we do Maria equals student, so we're calling that class, and we're providing the information that Maria is the name, 2022 is the graduation year, so we're calling it 22. And we could provide some initial grades by here you see in the curly brackets, we are saying her science grade is a 3.9. Okay, so I'm just going to move my face again so you can see what I'm covering up. See if I can move my face here. So Maria equals student, and then Maria in parentheses is the name, or Maria in quotes, and then 22, and then entering the grade. What we can then do is that we can actually add grades for Maria by doing Maria.grades. Like you see right here, Maria.grades. We can provide a math grade, and then the GPA for math was 3.2. So this Maria.grades allows us to use this set grade here by providing the self, in this case is the individual, and then the grades, and then the course, and then providing the grade for it. So this note here of self ties all these components together. And so what we're doing is we're creating data on an individual student, their name, their year of graduation, And then we can use that name then to help identify the individual and attach additional data to it, like their math grade, and to find their GPA. So we're bundling together data and functions, and this allows us then to go into the system and simply output Maria's GPA. So we could print, and you see Maria.getGPA, because that comes from this command here. And then our parentheses, we don't need to put anything in it because the information that's needed to pull the GPA is simply the name of the student, and here that is Maria. So because we define Maria equals student, then it's Maria.getGPA to pull it. So we combine the data, we combine the functions. The benefit of this is that we can then automate the system instead of just dumping in a data set, manipulating the data set for a particular scenario. We can then make this so that as the information changes, as people get added to the student list, as grades get added, the system gets updated, and we can automatically pull it for reports as well, for example, to get the GPA of all the students. So let's take a look at how this works in Python. So just a reminder, as you're working through the workbooks, you can find those workbooks at drstephpowers.github.io/BIA. We're currently working on the Intro to Python workbook as we learn the basics. Opening Google Colab, sign into Google, copy your copy so that you can manipulate it and change it. So here you see, here we have our class student, our object, and then our initial state, and then our functions that we've added to it. So we can run this. We can input the information about Maria, name, year they're graduating, and their grades in science. We can add to it Maria's grades in math. And so you can add more, and we can also have it calculate the GPA. So for example, here's the calculations of Maria's GPA based on science and math. But let's say that we add for Maria additional grades, and so what's left? Art. And in art, Maria has a 4, so we add that to the system, and then we could add another line of code here. So now print out Maria's GPA. And the GPA should have gone up. So you can see it went from 3.55 to 3.69. So this allows us to start building essentially a database about the students and their information, but also then to import more grades and add to it, and then output the averages. So we can use the classes to help us in terms of inputting information into Python and automating some of the reporting and synthesis of the data as well. Another example here, let's say we have information about dogs. So we create a class called dog. And here we have something before the initial state. It says kind equals canine. Maybe you have multiple classes. In a moment, we're going to create a class for cats. And so anything that is the state for everyone in the class goes first. So kind equals canine. Every dog is a canine. Then we have information that is specific to a dog. And so that's where we have this initial state. And so what are we collecting on that dog? So we're going to collect their name, and they're going to collect their breed. And then we're going to collect information about toys, but we're going to start off with an empty list. So that's the self.toy equals in the hard brackets, because we're going to add information about what toys the particular dog likes. So we have what's true for all dogs. We have what we have as our initial state for each particular dog, their name and breed. And then we have our function here where we're going to add information about the toys that they like. So notice we're using append because we start with an empty list, and we're going to add to it or append the different toys that that dog, particularly dog, likes. Make sure when you're doing class, we have self here, and then self dot. This is going to be self.toy, and then what are we doing to self.toy? We are appending it with a toy. And here we have self.name, self.breed, self.toy. So it's tying it all together to one particular dog. And so the name we give that is what is going to be replaced by the word self, or is going to replace the word self. So for example, let's run this. So let's say that we have X, data point X, we could call it something else, but let's say dog X is a dog, its name is Fluffy, and it is a Shih Tzu. Okay, so we're entering that into the system. Then once we know that Fluffy likes squeaky toys, we can do x.add underscore toy. So that's the function here. And we're adding the name of the toy, which is Squeaky. We can then output information about dog X. So if we print x.name, we get the name of the dog is Fluffy. X.breed is that it's a Shih Tzu. X.toy is that it likes squeaky toys. Okay, we could add more toys to what was the name of the dog? Fluffy likes. So maybe Fluffy also likes a bone. So x.add underscore toy. We're going to add bone, and it's going to add it to whichever dog is labeled X. So we can add more, and you can see here when we print x.toy, we can now see that Fluffy likes squeaky and bone. So we're tying the information back to the label that we've given it here, which is X, and that dog's name is Fluffy. All right, take a moment. Can you add another dog? So pick a dog name, a breed, add a toy. And for now, let's just label this as Y. So can we add some additional information to the system? So take a moment and see if you can do that. So we get Y equals, just like before. And we're going to call the class, which is capital DOG here. And then the name of our dog, I don't know, Bruno. And what type of dog is he? I don't know, mutt. Because can you think of some dog types off the top of your head? All right, so we can enter in the information. You can, of course, at any name output that. So you can do print. If you want to see what's in the system, we can do print y.name. Got to remember if it's capitalized or not. So we go back to our system here, lowercase, y.name. So it'll output Bruno. And we could do the same. We could do y.breed. And it would tell us that it's a mutt. We can add information about the type of toys that Bruno likes. So remember that is add underscore toy. So here we have Y, add underscore toy. And what kind of toys does Bruno like? Maybe he also likes a bone. And maybe he has a stuffed animal that he likes. So let's add that. Okay. And then, of course, we can pull out the information. So we can print the y.toy. And we can see that Bruno likes a bone and a stuffy. So it's a way to collect information and store together the data as well as the functions. And so lastly here, take a moment. Can you create a class for a cat? This kind is female, so everyone who falls into the class cat is a feline. And then we want to collect for the cat, we want to collect their name, their breed, and this time their favorite treat. So what does the code look like to create a class for a cat? So we would do class cat. So just like before, here was class dog, here was class, we can actually just copy this here. Here's cat, parentheses. Here the kind is going to be feline. You'll notice in some of the code we use single quotes, others double quotes. Doesn't matter which one you use. So I use them both. So sometimes you'll see one, sometimes you'll see the other. Here we have name and breed. So same as the dog, we're going to do name and breed. But instead of tracking toy here, we're going to track treat. So we can start just like with this one with an empty list, and then we can add. And so instead of adding toy here, we're going to add treat. And so we have self and treat and self.treat. So we can call it and then append the treat. So we can run our class here. And then we can add information. And you don't have to call it X and Y. You can do like we did with Maria. So I have a cat named Max. So Max equals, and then we have class cat, name Max. He is definitely a collection of all kinds of stuff. So what's the term for cats? That's kind of the mutt. I don't know. You can call it, I'm not a cat expert, right? So he's a mix of everything. So we'll just write mix. Okay. All right. So we can enter Max into the system. We can then add information about Max. We can do max dot add treat. Max dot add treat. And he likes Whiskas. You know those commercials where the cat will run through a wall for Whiskas? That is my cat. All right. That's how you spell it? Whiskas, Whiskies. Don't know. All right, Whiskas. No idea. Whiskies. All right. So then what you can do is once you have it in the system, then you can also call it. So we can actually have it output. And so this allows you to start collecting and aggregating information that you have in the system. Here we're just doing max dot tell us what his breed is. He's a mix. Tell us what kind of treats he likes. Max.treat. And we can output it from the system. So again, we're combining our data and our functions together in a class, helping us collect information, manipulate the information, pull the information from the system.